Welcome to Evanston along the lakefront. The Northwestern Wildcats getting set for the 2025 season. Will be their final one played in their temporary home before the Cats open up an $850 million football palace in 2026. Good nucleus back for the Cats, including outstanding tackle Caleb Tiernan. They like the D-line a lot. Aiden Hubbard, Najee Story, Anto Saka as well, a guy NFL scouts really rave about. Also return Mac Uihlein, their leading tackler a season ago. And head coach David Braun's with us now. And coach, as you looked at the players you had coming back, and we just showed some of the marquee names, how did that impact portal strategy? Like, where did you identify the biggest priorities?
Priority number one was retention. When you got a guy like, Caleb Tiernan and Anto Saka and a young Josh Fussell and Michael Kilbane, I mean, the list goes on. Priority number one was retention, but there was also very honest conversations about where the roster was at and what we needed to do to be able to look ourselves in the mirror and say, this is a team that can compete for a Big Ten championship. And we knew we had a lot of work to do. Identifying positions of need, the offensive line and competitive depth was absolutely critical. We knew at the corner position we needed to bring in someone that had played a lot of college football. There was other positions to address. Wide receiver position, excited about some of the youth coming up in that room, but very unproven room. Knew at the quarterback position we had to improve our level of play there, and we were aggressive. And ultimately, we wanted to make sure that we were getting really good football players, but also young men that were going to, be great additions as people. And that's what I'm most proud of all the guys that we've brought in, their work ethic, their willingness to embrace Northwestern, be great teammates, on top of being really good football players. This football team is much better positioned this year than we were last year.
So personnel is a huge part of that equation as you look to get better. What else, as you guys self-assessed, where you said we've got to improve this above and beyond the roster?
Yeah. I mean, we say the cliches. I say the cliches about playing complementary football, but we need to deliver on that. How do you win in the Big Ten? You win by being big and physical and winning the line of scrimmage. Well, we had to address some things to make sure that we were delivering on that. And ultimately, we got to find ways to differentiate ourselves. The way that we do it at Northwestern doesn't always have to be the norm or status quo. We, as a coaching staff, whether it be offensively, defensively, special teams, how are we finding ways to apply pressure to our opponent, win in the margins? I've been really pleased with the progression that we've seen on staff and a willingness to really take ownership in a 4-8 season and say it's far from good enough. And we have to evaluate everything. We still got a long way to go. There's a lot of hard work ahead, but really excited about where we're trending right now, Dave.
Coach, curious about your strategy as a head coach, because it's your staff, it's your background, players from the portal, but really there's a theme conference-wide of teams going down to the FCS level to bring talent onto their roster. How does your background with the FCS benefit you? Yeah,
I think it benefits me from a standpoint of understanding the caliber of play that occurs at the FCS level and the development that occurs. Maybe a young man at 17 wasn't ready to play in the Big Ten, but under great development, a guy like Griffin Wilde or Evan Bernstein, are positioned to play at this level and thrive at this level. I think what we saw at Indiana last year, a lot of lower level guys that were able to come up and thrive in the Big Ten, but the FCS background. You're kind of torn, honestly. There's party that, really values that. And there's also party that goes back to your North Dakota State days and says, hey, Big Ten, we developed these guys. Stay away,
Absolutely. Yeah. Coach, I go back to the David Braun that took the stage at Big Ten Media Days a few years ago to the David Braun today, running through the line of scrimmage for your live goal line period. I mean, this is your team. What has changed from the David Braun back then to the David Braun today?
Yeah, I think ultimately, back in 2023, it was truly one day at a time. It was trying to find a way just to, support the guys within the program, having no idea how long my tenure would be here, and just wanted to make sure that we did right by those young men that stuck it out. The last couple of years have provided an opportunity to zoom out. The addition of Mark Jackson, is someone that's, in the foxhole with me, embarking on, a crazy landscape of college football. And I think I'm learning, we're going to continue to surround this program with great people, great coaches, double down on our non-negotiables, but also make decisions that are going to help us evolve. And I think there was a time where I was stuck in, well, here at Northwestern, it's been done this way, so we better keep doing it that way. And ultimately, that would be foolish of me to have that conversation with our staff or even myself. College football slipped on its head. We have to change a lot of what we're doing, and we have. We've restructured the way that we approach recruiting, the way that we approach the transfer portal, how we're utilizing revenue share, how we're going to really challenge these guys to develop at an expedited rate. I've had to grow a lot personally, and feel like I'm doing that. We need to continue to do that, but ultimately feel like we're in a really good position right now.
As far as the team this year goes, we're about that halfway point of camp. The team's identity and strengths start to reveal themselves. How would you describe the identity and strengths of your football team?
It's going to sound silly and it's repetitive, but it's easy to talk about being humble and hungry in January and then in spring and even at the beginning of camp. But, if you're truly humble and you're truly hungry, going into the dog days of camp, that's where your true toughness is going to show up. I've even acknowledged, guys, we're a little dinged up and we may have to modify practice a little bit. And, you got your leadership coming to you, 6-year guys like Cam Porter, no. Don't stop challenging us. Keep bringing it, coach. When your leadership is there's no entitlement, no complacency. They're embodying everything that they've embodied all off season long. The culture of the team and the hunger from within is in a really good spot.
I want to ask you just a little bit about the opener. You head down to Tulane. The weather can get a little steamy down there, especially basically 11 o'clock kickoff, I believe, because they're on Central Time, 11 Central Time kickoff. So end of August, it's going to be uncomfortable. What can you do to get your team ready to play in an environment like that?
I think the first thing is just to address the adversity that's waiting for us and the difficult challenge. Phenomenal football team, very well coached, difficult environment. The weather certainly will play a factor. And just embrace an attitude of good. We want to do hard things. We understand that the schedule that awaits us is really difficult. We understand that, competing and winning in the Big Ten is really difficult. Well, we're starting off with an incredibly difficult challenge week one, and we're going to embrace that. And then it gets down to the tactics of how we're going to actually prepare. Ultimately, if it's pushing practice back a little bit to get a little bit more heat, if it's going inland to get away from the breeze off the lake, if it's, some unique ways of getting our guys exposed to some saunas to, get exposed to some heat. And then ultimately understanding and, first team meeting a fall camp, Dave, it was, hey, it's going to take this entire team. We need to lean into our depth. We need to lean into the development. And if ultimately, guys that we traditionally wouldn't think we're leaning on in week one to be huge special teams contributors that can take some reps off of guys that are playing a ton of offense and defensive football, that's something that's going to have to show up for us on August 30th.
Head coach of the Wildcats, David Braun. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Dave.
Joined now by Zach Lujan, the offensive coordinator here. Coach, it didn't go great, obviously, last year in your first year as the OC. What are the biggest things that you learned from last year that you think you can apply this year?
Really just, the benefit of a second year within the offense and being really rules-based with our teaching so that it's both sustainable for the older guys in terms of growing within the offense and obviously for some new guys coming in and learning it and being able to pick it up fairly quickly.
Well, you also needed better quarterback play, and, man, you went out and got a really good one in Preston Stone. We were both very impressed with him today. You identified him very early on in the portal. What were the characteristics that made you guys feel like Preston was the right guy for you?
Yeah, first and foremost, kind of throughout his entire life, he's been a winner, and he embodies that trait in everything that he does. Played a lot of football, played at a high level, processes incredibly well. And then he's just a tough, gritty football player. He loves ball to his core, and he's done a great job in just coming in here and putting his head down and working his tail off each and every day.
What do his abilities unlock for you as a play caller?
Yeah, it really kind of opens things up in terms of whether it's access RPOs or being able to push the ball downfield. And if teams want to play with the loaded box, we'll be able to take some shots and push the ball downfield in that regard. And again, he's played a ton of winning football, so being able to get us in the right checks and just the veteran presence that he has and that he kind of commands the entire offense with.
I know when we talked last year, Coach Braun mentioned, nothing really mattered unless the offensive line was addressed. And he's raved about how this group has progressed heading into this season. What's your assessment of the trenches?
Yeah, incredibly proud of those guys. Caleb Tiernan's kind of been the workhorse leading the charge up front, but it's been an incredibly competitive spring ball that's led to an incredibly competitive fall camp. And, the best thing is it's really an iron sharpens iron approach where, yes, they're competing with each other each and every day, but they're pushing each other and making each other better as well. And, we got a pretty good defensive line as well, so it's fun to be able to go against them each and every day.
How do you become more explosive as an offense?
Yeah, I think part of it's, really leaning into some of the playmakers that we have and being able to get them the ball in space, being able to change up some of the tempo stuff overall.
Who would those guys be? Like, who do you need to get it to?
The first guy who comes to mind, obviously, is Caleb Kumalafe. He's had a great fall so far. But really our running back room overall, him and Joe Hyman are incredibly explosive. And, Cam Porter's been a workhorse in this conference for a long, long time now. But on the perimeter, we've got a bunch of young receivers with Griffin Wilde and Chase, and then obviously some of the other guys as well who've done a great job of just putting their head down and working their tail off. Frank yesterday, we were working a 2-minute drill, and it was 3rd and 26 or something along those lines, and he goes up and makes a contested catch for a first down, and it leads to us having an opportunity to win the 2-minute drill, and just doing a great job of competing his tail off as well.
Some of the other guys would include the tight ends, Coach. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to keep the trend going. I'm always asking about, you got 9 or 10 on the roster, I believe, right now. It's a large number of tight ends. How important are they to what you do, and what do you see from that group? Yeah,
it really allows us to do a lot of the 12 and 13, even 14 personnel groupings overall, which can stress a defense, potentially lock them in a coverage or two, and then create some mismatch and advantageous situations overall. And, give those guys a lot of credit in terms of they have to know the offense just as well as the quarterbacks with where we position them and put them overall. And they've done a great job of not just leaning in, not just buying in, but owning the entire offense and mastering their craft.
Last question for you, Coach. When it's humming, when it's at its best, what are the adjectives that you want people to use to describe your offense?
We talk about 3 things. We talk about playing fast. Obviously, that's game speed, right? Fast guys doing fast things, but play speed as well. Inevitably, the defense is going to come out with some different look, and we need to be able to execute at a high level. The second thing is playing physical, and that starts up front in the trenches and, quite frankly, punching them in the mouth. And the third thing is playing to win, and not playing with any fear or hesitation or self-doubt, but, quite frankly, just playing to win and going out there and being the best version of ourselves.
Zach Lujan, always a pleasure. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Tim McGarigle joining us now. And Coach, as you look at this defense, this is your second full year as a coordinator. So as you look back on last year, what are the biggest things that you learned about yourself, your first year calling a defense?
Trust the players. Trust the players. We got a great group of guys that are going to go out there and make plays and don't overthink it. We practice for a reason and, call what we practice, put them in position to make plays, and that's who we're going to lean on this year.
As last year went on, it felt like you guys struggled a little bit to hold up against the run. The beginning of the year was less of an issue. How did you address that?
Yeah, I think, that was one of our things coming into the offseason is, we did not finish the last couple games versus the run as we wanted to. So that was a linchpin the whole season, the whole offseason, to identify that, work towards that, get bigger, faster, stronger, and that's a focus of camp.
One thing that helps is having a dominant defensive line. I think we were both impressed looking at that unit up front. What's been your impression of that unit, and what does a dominant defensive line allow you to do as a play caller?
Absolutely. Great run defense starts inside. We have a veteran, returning captain in Carmine Bastone, who is the anchor of that defensive line. We got some defensive ends that are veterans, and Anto, Saka, Aiden Hubbard, and we're going to lean on those guys, to have a big year for us.
I want to ask you about the playbook, and one thing that's cool for us is we get to tour the conference and see different defensive philosophies. You might see one defense with a ton of exotic pressures and coverages. Your defense seems to be true defense. Rely on one another, do your job. Why would you choose to use that playbook?
Yeah, we want to play defense, not defenses. Okay, so we want to when teams put on the tape, we want to out physical people. We want to out execute people. We want to be seen as a disciplined style of defense, and we want to make teams earn it down the field.
It feels like a given when you're coaching linebackers. The tackles are going to start to add up. Talk about your linebacker group and what you expect from them this year.
Yeah, we have a returning Mike linebacker and Mac Uihlein who finished the season off pretty strong. But I'll be the first to tell you, the best linebackers have a great defensive line in front of them. If those defensive linemen we have, live up to their expectations, the linebackers are going to make a lot of plays.
Let's talk a little bit about the expectations on the D-line. I mean, Anto Saka is such an interesting story because The Athletic literally had him as a projected first-round pick. He's never started a game for you in college, and we talked a little bit with him in Las Vegas about how do you become an every down player. So what has Anto done to become a guy who can be on the field for you, not just on third down, but on first down?
Yeah, he's been on a mission. He's had tunnel vision this whole offseason. Something you look at from a defensive perspective is, are your best players your hardest workers? And you're going to see guys like Anto, Preston Stone, Mac Uihlein, the guys we talked about in the weight room, pre-practice, getting ready, getting their bodies right to go maximize themselves on the field. And Anto has had a great offseason. I'm excited to see him play this year.
Last thing I want to ask you, just as someone who grew up in this program, you're still one of the all-time leading tacklers in NCAA history. When you drive down Central Street and you see the new Ryan Field going up and everything that's happening around this program, how does it make you feel?
Oh, I mean, I bleed purple. Just so excited as you, we're just can't wait to get this season going, and next year will be fun too.
Tim McGarigle, thanks a lot, Coach.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks.
All right, Preston, I want to start with you, man. Take me back to the decision ultimately to come here to Northwestern, put your trust in Coach Braun and Coach Lujan.
I think as soon as I stepped on campus, I knew Coach Braun was a different kind of coach. I could just feel a level of sincerity and fire for the game that was different than a lot of coaches I was recruited by. And then I actually had a really cool opportunity on my visit to sit down with some of the leaders on the team, like Cam, Mac, and Carmine, and they kind of laid out, like, here's what our culture is, here's our standard, and I knew this was going to be the place for me to be.
I want to stay there for a second because that's been a major point for Coach Braun. He said, like, this is a player-led team. The locker room chemistry is off the charts. I mean, you have a unique perspective, coming in as an outsider. What has stood out to you specifically about the chemistry?
Yeah, I'd say more than anything, the work ethic here is just off the charts. Coming from where I was at last year to here, I've had to step up my game on all facets, not just on the field, but in the weight room, in the training room. Everyone's here at least 10 minutes before meetings and lifts. So just being consistent and kind of gaining that trust from the guys like Cam and the leaders on the team who have already established such a strong work ethic.
Kim, I mean, yeah, being one of the leaders, why is that important, and where did that really start for you guys?
I think it started immediately after our last loss against Illinois. I think as leaders, once we figured out all the guys who was coming back, we kind of came together and said, okay, what's going to be our standard going into this offseason? Understand how important the offseason is, and we wanted to make sure that everything was buttoned up, top to bottom, and making sure that guys were bringing their best each and every day.
The standard for you, I mean, I feel like you've been at Northwestern for forever, man. It's the final go-around, right. The last season. What expectations and goals do you have for the season? My personal goals, I always have personal goals for myself, but, I'm really team-oriented this year. You know what I mean? The success of the team is first and foremost. We worked really hard this offseason to make sure, that we have success on the field this year. So I'm really excited to bring it with my guys and, work each and every day. Preston, for the Northwestern fans sitting at home, how would you describe your game and what are some of your strengths?
Especially in our offense, I really just see myself as a distributor. We have playmakers in every single position room, in the running back room, receiver room, tight end room. So my job is really just to get the ball in the hands of playmakers, and then for the 3 or 4 plays of the game where I have to go do something special, I'll be ready for it.
Who are some of those playmakers that have stood out at this point?
Running back room is unbelievable right now. With Cam, Joe, and Como, we've got a whole stable of backs that are going to put a lot of pressure on defenses to load the box, which should really open up stuff in the pass game. For guys like Ricky, Griff, Frank, really excited to take some shots and throw it downfield to those guys.
Cam, I know a big piece of the rushing success is the offensive line, and Coach Braun has been vocal about he thinks this unit this year will really take strides. What have you seen from the trenches?
Coach Braun is exactly right, and he brought in really good guys, along with guys that we already had, to make sure that not only do we have, a good starting five, but we have good depth as well. We're really excited about young guys, old guys. We're really excited to see what we can do running the ball this year.
What do you think about the system here with Coach Zach? What are some of the principles that excite you?
I love it. The way he describes my role is he's giving you the keys to the car, and you just got to drive it. Like I was saying, I feel like we can hurt defenses in a lot of different ways, whether it's, 10, 11, 12, 13 personnel, doing a lot with our shifts and our motions, having an outstanding run game, like I said, put pressure on defenses to where, once the defense starts to suck into the box, we'll take a shot.
All right, last question for you. We got to see live goal line period today. I was told the offense won, and that means you get ice cream. What's you guys' favorite ice cream flavors? Cam, we'll start with you.
I kind of like those Snicker bars that that you can freeze. Yes. Those are insane. That's probably my favorite.
I'm going to go with the ice cream sandwich. 2 cookies on each side.
You can't go wrong with
Absolutely.
Ice cream, right? Especially
Absolutely.
at the midpoint of camp. All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
And we're joined by a couple of stars of Northwestern's defense now, Anto, Saka, and Mac Uihlein. Guys, interested, first of all, as you kind of get set for this season, defensively, I know you guys felt like you had some areas to improve on from last year. Anto, I'll ask you first, but Mac, you can elaborate on it as well. Where do you think you guys have taken the biggest jump since last season?
Just owning the line of scrimmage and just stopping the run game. That's always been a focal point for this defense since I've been here. But this year, I really feel like we've taken the steps just to make sure we control the line of scrimmage, playing on their side of the ball, and just being strong up front. That's what wins games out here.
Mac?
I think off the field thing that's been important for our team development has just kind of been the creation of standards and accountability measures that have been a little more kind of measured and extensive than we've had in the past, and that's been big, kind of helping the young guys develop, getting the whole team to develop, and having guys, like Anto said, in the trenches making plays, but also on the back end with the ability to rush and cover too.
So when you're talking about standards and measurements, are you talking about on the field, off the field?
Both, yeah. On the field, just how we're getting to the ball, and then also off the field, like how we're showing up to meetings, how we're showing up to the workouts every day, and just the urgency and kind of attentiveness that surrounds our program. So,
this is Coach McGarigle's second year as the defensive coordinator. I'm just interested, again, from both you and Anto, you can start. How have you seen him kind of grow into this position?
Yeah, obviously stepping into a new position. I mean, he's been the defensive guy his entire life, but, whenever you step into a new position, it's some growing pains. And this year, he's just wanted to make sure that he's allow us the defense to play faster, more free, and just really pressure the offense a lot more. So he's been a lot more aggressive, and he's been letting us get after the ball.
Yeah, from a linebacker perspective, he's been my coach since I got here, so it's kind of been the same. From him, I can expect the same thing every day, and we've been playing similar defenses and stuff since I've been here, so pretty similar for me.
Curious from each one of you guys. Mac, I can start with you. Describe Anto as a player.
Fast, explosive, gets to the ball, just good effort, plays hard, yeah.
All right, Anto, how would you describe Mac?
Mac is a commander, and he's out there with his head on fire, one of the most juiced-up guys on the field, a true leader, and he commands this defense. So,
where does that juice come from?
I love being out there with the guys. Yeah, that's my favorite thing about the sport is just being there with the guys, and I get more excited when other guys make plays than when I do. Partly because I got to catch my breath for the next play to get the calls and everything set up for the rest of the guys. But I just love being out there with the guys and love. We're a very close team, so when other guys are making plays, it's fun.
So, Anto, you made Bruce Feldman's freak list this year. What was your reaction when you found out you'd made that list, which I know a lot of guys really love to see their names on?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I had it sent to me. Ultimately, it's great, but that comes second to what we do here. It's always good to be recognized, but my eyes are laser focused on this team's success and what I can do to help us win some games this year.
Okay, if you don't want to talk about it, I'll let Mac talk about it. What's the freakiest thing you've seen him do?
I mean, he's just a great pass rusher. You can just put on the tape and see the freaky stuff he can do. Doesn't really need to be described. Just put on the tape.
Tell me about some of these transfers you guys got at linebacker, Yanni Karlaftis, Jack Sadowski. What have you seen from them in terms of helping this unit?
Yeah, I mean, just first of all, Yanni and Jack fit into the room great, and we're a really tight room, tight team. But then linebacker room specifically is very close, so they fit in well there. And then it's just good to have them around, and they're making plays and learning the defense here and getting pretty comfortable and playing a lot faster. So,
how about on the other side of the ball? Where have you guys seen the biggest jump in the offense this year, Anto?
Yeah, I love what I'm seeing out of our O-line. They're nasty, they're big, and they move people. So that's really been an exciting thing to see, even since spring ball and even going into summer camp. So just how the development of the O-line, how they're gelling, and it's just the nastiness. They're going to get after people this year.
How about from your point of view, Mac?
Obviously, Anto's more up front and is seeing that difference. But as a linebacker, we're seeing the difference in the O-line, but then also in the passing game and stuff, and the running backs as well. So I think all around the offense is looking good. So.
Well, looking forward to watching you guys this year. Mac, Uihlein, Anto, Saka. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.